flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, we'll open the meeting with public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yes.
Cody, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Deborah Brown.
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm behind the post again.
Oh. Okay. Gotta get up here where Tim can see me. Several months ago, our representatives of the citizens of Broadwater County began to make several changes on how the county works. And hiring a public works director initiated changes in multiple departments. These changes triggered some surprising impacts to the people. Many of us understand there is a need to look at how business is run in Broadwater County, and the last election brought that question to the front. Nobody here is trying to say that things can continue the way they have been, that changes do need to be made. I had some friends and neighbors calling and asking questions about the solid waste department. I did not understand what the problem was until I saw an increase in my rates. I don't get to these meetings to get a full idea of what is going on because Monday mornings don't fit into my schedule. I have to be at a volunteer job that I have at noon in Helena, so it's a little hard for me to get here and then get there in time. I did hear there were several citizens that had attempted to get on your agenda to discuss this solid waste and public works decisions, and I heard that they were turned away by you. So I am here today to submit to you proof that there are many citizens that you work for that are asking many questions. And I have the petitions here that were signed by a number of citizens here in Broadwater County that they have some questions that they would like to be answered. And so I'd ask that you please take the time to recognize the concerns of these citizens and add us to your agenda. So I'll submit these to.
Thank you.
And I do have another topic. Can I do two? I actually live in Winston. And if you've ever tried to pull in there at Winston at night, it's dangerous. It's so dark there you can't see. And so, this is asking more money to be spent. But if there was any way to get like a street light there at that intersection, it would be nice to have one on each side. But even if we just had one on the side where you come across the tracks there, it would help because we've had several, and we've worked on this, getting the speed limit reduced there and different things, but I didn't realize how bad it was till the other night, and I came through there and it was like I couldn't even see where to turn when it was really dark, you know, and because I don't get out at night that much. So, but I was coming from Townsend, so I don't know if it makes a difference which direction you're coming from is harder to see. You know, you would think with the restaurant there would be lights, but there's not any right there at the intersection itself. So I would challenge you to maybe take a drive over to Winston one night and see how that is. And I know that we've had, I don't know how many accidents that have been pretty serious right there at that intersection. And the speed limit, and we appreciate so much at least getting the speed limit reduced like we did to help save lives. So. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jody Moore, and I realize this has been a decision that was made a couple of months ago, but I haven't had a chance to come here to speak with you all just because it's hard for me to get here as well. So I just wanted to address a decision that was made a couple of months ago. On behalf of my husband, Broadwater County Sheriff's Deputy Mason Moore, badge number 438, I would like to request that you remove his name, his badge number from the 438 memorial account. Based on the decision by Commissioner Obert to not support the Sheriff's Office by using money from this account to pay for professional pictures. Commissioner Obert stated that she was refusing the claim based on the Sheriff's Office contentious budget. Commissioner Obert, I wanted to remind you of the findings from the auditor you hired, Bill Jaraki, after he audited the Sheriff's Office budget. He stated that decisions that were made with the Sheriff's Office budget were appropriate, and he suggested that we take the blame away and move forward. He also stated that it was unfair to put the sheriff budget through scrutiny and not the entire budget. This decision by you to not grant the claim for professional pictures from the memorial account established because of my husband's murder is not moving forward and definitely not in line with what my husband would like and support. So again, I am asking for you to remove his name and badge number from the memorial account. Additionally, I was on call with Three Forks Ambulance Service last Monday when we received a call stating that a Broadwater County Sheriff's deputy was in distress and was unable to be contacted. My heart went in my throat, but I still responded to the ambulance barn to go on the call, where I was told to stay put and they would let me know how the deputy was. Obviously, this is very hard for me. I prayed and prayed, and a few minutes later received word that the deputy was okay. This is one of many scary calls that our deputies have been on, particularly in the southern end of Broadwater County. I would like to give you the details of that call, but because I'm concerned for their ongoing safety, I will not. I can tell you from my perspective, though, that there are many not nice people that pass through Broadwater County. I would again like to ask for you to prioritize law enforcement and first responder safety when you are making your financial decisions. Thank you.
I'm Karen Kailis, and I'm a nurse over at the jail. And because of an incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, a detention officer had to work almost 48 hours with little sleep because there wasn't enough money to hire another detention officer. Heaven forbid if somebody should get sick, for anybody else to get hurt. And I just think it's inconsiderate for the lack of funding you make for the detention center.
I'm Shirley Wilson. I have a letter dated December 16, 2019. Dear County Commissioners, on November 4th, 2019, I read a letter asking some questions about the Commissioner's publication sent to the citizens of Broadwater County. The publication I am referring to was sent in March of 2019. These are the questions: who authorized the publication, who prepared the publication, where was the publication printed and processed, what was the cost of publication, and how was the publication mailed and at what cost. It is now the 16th of December and I have not yet received an answer. I think this is not a timely response. I feel the citizens of Broadwater County are entitled to receive this information. Signed, Shirley Wilson. I did get a letter from Darrell today, and it says, from Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director, dated December 6th. Response to Shirley Wilson and Bobby Meehan's request for information. In response to your request, I submit the following information: who authorized the publication to Broadwater County Commissioners, who prepared the publication, Nicole Brown, with input from the Commissioners, where was the publication printed and processed. There's a website, GotPrint, www.gotprint.com. And what was the cost of the publication? $678.14. How was the publication mailed to the citizens and at what cost? There were 2,500 cards published at a cost of, and the mailing cost $483.10. And I guess I bring this up, is Godspin local? Does anybody know? And this kind of reverts to what Jody Moore talked about, was expenditures that were not local and things that were spent. Maybe we need to look closer to home, or maybe not do some of these things. Thank you. And here's a copy.
Go ahead.
Commissioners, Tim Ravendall. I'm wearing two hats as normal when I attend these meetings. One is for Readout News, the other is for myself as a personal citizen of Broadwater County taxpayer. My heart, I think like everybody in this room, sank a little bit this morning with Jody coming in here, making another request to have accountability and really transparency. Those are one of the things that I have fought for a long time personally. This goes a little bit beyond Broadwater County in wondering what the heck is going on, and with this being the executive branch of Broadwater County, it's appropriate to bring this to your attention. There are citizens from across the state that are wondering what's going on with the Barris case. Why is the state of Montana, and again this is above your threshold, but why is the state of Montana spending so much money in the defense side of this, yet the people of Broadwater County who really have had the direct loss are footing the bill one way or another at every means that is possible. I have a letter that I was asked to submit to the commission here from a citizen from Granite County. And I will read that and then I will give it to you for your record. This is from Elena Gaglio of Granite County, lives in Phillipsburg. Commissioners, this is a subject regarding a $25,000 contribution from Granite County Commission. In December of 2018, Granite County Commission received a letter from your county attorney, Corey Swanson, requesting $25,000 contribution to be used toward the Lloyd Barris litigation expense. See attached, and I do have a copy of that letter here. Apparently, a check for that amount of $25,000 was mailed to Broadwater County and was cashed by Broadwater County sometime in January of 2019. I have a few questions for information regarding that contribution that Granite County Commission is unable to provide. 1. Please provide any current update on the status of the Barris case and trial. 2. A copy of a letter which accompanied the $25,000 check from the Granite County. And 3. The date of any that Mr. Corey Swanson along with Ms. Jody Moore met with the Granite County Commissioners per Swanson's December 26th offer. The status of the $25,000, the amount spent, and toward what expense. In other words, the folks in Granite County are also looking for accountability on what's going on here. So then it closes, if you need any additional information from me or have any problems with providing this information, please let me know. If not, then please provide the requested information no later than December 30th, 2019. Thank you in advance for your time and help in this matter and information requested. I will submit that for the record on behalf of this citizen of Montana. Changing gears. It's been brought up that regarding the Public Works Director and the amount of questions that are being raised regarding the operation of the many different departments in Broadwater County. And I had a citizen right here, lives out on Cottonwood Creek, ask me, how come nobody's doing anything or saying anything, or none of the meetings are talking really anything about what's being spent and how it's being appropriated in the road department. He sent me this picture this morning of Cottonwood Creek, and I'd like to give this to you. It shows him coming down the Cottonwood Creek Road with his combine, and he's very concerned. It was brought up on the south end of the county about reducing speed limits for safety reasons, and when you look at how that road was remanufactured, if you will, it's a hazard. The ditches are so low below the road. He made a comment, he says it's like driving along the edge of the canal, and it needs to be looked at. Those are just a few of the things that keep things coming. As a reporter for Redoubt News, I am constantly getting called saying, what's the next step? What's going on? Where's it at? Where's it going? Who do we talk to? How do we get more information? And most importantly, but not last, I'm being rang to death, if you will, of asking, how come this commission, unless it benefits the local government, never holds a meeting outside of 10 o'clock on Monday mornings? With that, commissioners, I'm hoping that we can move forward and get better transparency and accountability on behalf of the citizens of Broadwater County. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, my name's Al Christopherson. Doesn't change during the daytime. This morning I'm here as a co-chair for the Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee. That's the group that used to work as the Elkhorn Restoration Committee in the Elkhorn Mountains. We've expanded our footprint and changed our name to include the Big Elks, the Big Belts, the Elkhorn Mountains, and the Divide landscape just west of Interstate 15. We are asking you for a letter of support in our efforts in working with the Helena, Lewis and Clark National Forest and submitting a collaborative forest landscape restoration project. That is a national project. Nationally, there will be probably 10 new projects picked nationally. There can be up to 2 for each region of the Forest Service. Region 1 has already held their regional evaluations, if you want to call it that. And the project that we put together with the Helena Forest has gone through that process called Tier 1. And we have been moved on to the Tier 2 process, which is a much more detailed, elaborate process. Those proposals will go to the Washington office, will be reviewed by a national level FACA committee, and projects will be selected. So we're hoping to be one of those selected projects. If so, then they will fund us at some level. We're hoping in maybe the $4 million range per year for 10 years, which that has to be matched, and so we're working with the forest and partners to match that. So I've got for you a letter of request and a draft of the kinds of letters we're looking for a letter of support or a sign-on letter, which is you can sign on and be part of a list of other people that are signing on. So with that, I will give that to you and ask for your response back. Thank you. Any other public comment? We'll go to a, yes, go ahead, Alan.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Alan Wright, and it's been quite a while since I've come to one of your meetings. And I'm curious to ask the question of, a while back, there was a group of concerned citizens that submitted their complaints or comments about the transparency of local government, and I guess the county attorney of Gallatin County is pursuing this. Is there any information out there that can be released or said of where it's at? Is there any comments, or is there for the inquiry that the attorney over in Gallatin County is doing. Is there anything you guys can say pertaining to that?
Received any information from him whatsoever.
Okay, it's just been quite a while since I
Yeah.
thought I would inquire. And I have one more quick thing. And it pertains to White's Gulch. And I was wanting to find out if I could get a copy, if it exists, of the MOU with Forest Service on the maintenance and repairs and authority and supervision of that road from the blacktop all the way to the top of that pass that marries up to Marr County. And who exactly has authority over that road? Is it a county road? Is it a Forest Service road? Is it a, since it was washed out there several years back, I'm under the understanding that it's a county road, but the Forest Service took over control. And if it is a county road, since our county commissioner is looking at reestablishing some of our roads for public access to different areas, then that's a major contributor from our county. Because right on the other side of that hill, in Marr County, their county maintains that road all the way to the top of the pass, off of Benton Gulch Road. So, I'd like to get a copy, if it exists, of the MOU. And that's my question. Have a good day.
Alan, what's the name of that road coming out of Marr?
Benton Gulch?
Benton Gulch?
You know, since the county's trying to reestablish its roads that were taken away from the travel planning process, maybe we could look at that one.
Any other public comment? We'll go to COS, Bernadette.
I have a boundary relocation here for John and Mary Heineman. As you recall, we had did one right here a few months ago. They purchased this area and there was, the property line is right behind the house and there wasn't room for like a replacement drain field area or anything. So they decided to, add some land onto that to make it bigger so that it would have a replacement area later down the road. And also his farm road comes through here. And instead of it, the property did come up here, he decided to hold it to, move it to the center line of that farm road. So anyways, this is just a boundary relocation. We added some land to this to make it a little bigger, to move it to the center of the farm road, and just added some, and then the sanitary, and this was 3 lots from this dash line down. And so instead we created just one parcel, aggregated those, and added this area here to it. And here is their exemption form. If you have any other questions?
Thank you. It's pretty straightforward. I move that we support the COS boundary relocation as presented.
Did Sean get his questions answered on that?
Yes, he did. And that was one of his questions. He didn't want it to remain 3 separate lots.
Right.
He wanted it as one, even though they really couldn't have sold them separately. He was just more comfortable if the legal description created one parcel. So we aggregated the lots 8 and 9 into that.
Tell me again the access on this. Is it just this farm road you're talking about?
This is that. This parcel here accesses the Springville Road, John Wayne Lane.
Right.
And then that continues on as a farm road in for John to access the rest of this acreage.
Okay. And is this road in place now?
Yes, yeah, because there's an existing house right here.
Right.
And they come up and access that house there.
All right.
And also the farm road is existing. And John Heineman is here too if you have questions.
And I think it's important to mention too for the record that this was sent to us 2 weeks ago, roughly. So this is something we've had some time to mull over and research. So
Right,
thank
and
you
we
for
wanted
that.
to address the sanitarians' comments and, so that's why we just did the legal on the entire area of that district. That was his main issue. And that, you know, he wanted to make sure that there was room for a replacement area, which this does add enough room for a replacement area.
There's a motion to approve the COS. Is there a second?
Yep, second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the Heineman boundary relocation. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
All right, this one, I guess maybe just sign the bottom of that. We'll leave that one before. Oh, they don't need to sign? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernadette.
Thank you, Bernadette. We'll go to our Amy Tenney, Boyd Andrew, update on community services.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Amy Tenney. I'm the CEO of Broadwater Community Services. We, myself and Dan Kraus, our Chief Operations Officer, is also here to answer any questions. We were here a few months back to discuss the fact that we were looking to come in and replace some addiction services that were left by Southwest Chemical Dependency when they opted to not return to Townsend. So as requested, I'm just presenting you with an update. We have received our state approval to come into Broadwater County. And as requested, we've been working with the Broadwater Health Clinic. The interim administrator, Randy Anderson, has met with us. We will meet again this week. So we're working towards some collaborative effort to get things going. However, he's overwhelmed right now with all of the work that they have to do to make sure that they've got their physicians and nurses and everything staffed. So Broadwater Health they have agreed with us that the most important thing is that we start some services sooner rather than later. And they are more than happy to have us come in to the county and start providing services. And in the meantime, we'll continue to work collaboratively to get some integrated behavioral health going on between the clinic and ourselves. So just letting you know that we are prepared to be coming in. We'll start coming in on Thursdays in January. We'll be here every week to provide services for substance use disorder assessments, outpatient treatment, and the ACT program for DUI. So we just wanted to make sure we got it in there before the inclement weather made it really very difficult for people to get to Helena or Bozeman, and we've been able to do that. We're also able to provide some services to the pretrial folks in Broadwater County Detention Center, which we hope will help with the workload, because at this point in time, I know that they're moving some folks from Broadwater County over to Helena to get those assessments done and then bringing them right back. This will stop that travel from having to happen for those folks that are in jail waiting adjudication and meeting an assessment. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think that's invaluable, and I'm really pleased to hear you guys will be coming on a consistent basis so people can plan on it, get it in their calendar, so thank you. very
Certainly.
much for that.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I have business cards that we'll be dropping off here at the courthouse while we're here, so that anybody that's getting referred or needs to be in touch can call us and start scheduling those appointments in January. We'll be based out of the courthouse for now. May change to the Broadwater Clinic, but we're kind of working that out, so.
Tell me again where you're working.
I'm sorry?
Where are you working at? Are you working out of the hospital?
We'll be working out of the courthouse in January, so it'll be I think the jury room or the
Okay.
library they've agreed to let us use. And so, in meetings with Randy Anderson, we're talking about potentially having a clinician at the clinic, but they're still working on room and space and trying to figure out if there's anything available for us there.
So will you try to set up an office in the hospital itself then? Is that what you're trying to?
We may. We're
Get
working
established.
towards figuring out if that will be something that would be helpful to our shared clientele. But we're not there yet.
Okay. Anything else?
I just wanted to add, my name's Dan Kraus with Boyd Andrew Community Services. I have spoken with the judge and a colleague of the judge, I'm not sure if it was the clerk, to ensure that jury room space would be available when they've offered it to other programs that have come in. And they did just the other day, probably a week ago, reiterate that during this time that we're trying to figure out things with the local Broadwater Health, that the law library and the jury room would be available for use. So anyways, I just want to make sure I communicate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing to let you guys know, I don't think, it doesn't sound like it's needed, but we do have Center for Mental Health. We'll actually use this room when there's no meeting here. So if you guys do get in a situation where there's just no other options, let us know. We can also help to find you a place.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you do is so important that
Thank you.
that's an easy lift for us.
The counselor you will be seeing here, the clinician you'll be seeing here is a licensed addiction counselor. Her name is Sarah Gonzer. She's very excited to be coming in. She's also providing services for us in Jefferson County. So if you see a new face, that's probably who that's going to be. So
Fantastic. What's her name again?
Sarah Gonzer.
Thank you.
And lastly, if you have a contact for the mental health folks, that might be good because we oftentimes do have folks that are co-occurring and need to work in both the realm of mental health and addiction. And so having a contact and maybe a way to work in conjunction with that individual, that would be helpful too. So
Absolutely. I'll get each of your cards and get you that contact.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll go to our 1015 Trust Board, Virgil Binkley Search and Rescue Grant Approval. Was Virgil coming today, or?
No, he's not coming out either. I guess what we got is the search and rescue grant for their tracks. They want tracks for cab and heater for the 2019 Yamaha Viking to better serve public safety and the safety of the search and rescue team in colder months. And the trust board approved that on 12/3/2019 at our meeting to recommend it to you guys to go ahead and approve that. Do you have a copy of the grant? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're recommending that you approve that.
Thank you.
Was there a contribution from the vendor as well?
The grant request was $7,000. 3,800 was coming from CIP county money. The total cost of the project is $10,800.
Did you have anything to add there, Debbie?
What's that? Did you have something to add?
No, I didn't know if you had that in front of you.
Yeah, I have
Just
numbers
numbers.
here, so. Anything else?
Not from me. No.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim. This is also a no-brainer, so I will move that we approve the grant as presented by the trust board for $7,000 to purchase tracks and a cab for the Yamaha Viking side-by-side for search and rescue.
Is there a second?
No second.
Motion been made and second to approve the grant approved by the Broadwater County Trust Board. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
I have a question for Brandon.
Yep.
So they're planning to do that pretty quick, right?
Yeah, we'd like to get those on as soon as possible. You know, one thing with the tracks is not only the colder winter months or, you know, when there's snow, it's when there's every season in Montana, from dry roads to, you know, slush and mud to snow, that these people go over and, you know, to assist people that have maybe gone too far into that stuff and got stuck. And, you know, one of the things that happened last year, I hope it never happens again, is that, you know, that Friday afternoon storm last year where it got down to 40-some below, and, you know, our guys are out on snowmobiles, getting people out of their cars to get them to their house because the roads are blown in. You know, and a couple people suffered some frostbite, and this just really protect them and give them a little bit of coverage, at least from the wind, and have something better for our citizens to ride in too, you know, so they're not exposed to those elements as well, so.
Have they ever had to transport anybody out with that?
Not on the gurney, is that correct?
And
Not yet.
Is there a gurney that they
Yes.
can use for that?
They have a fold-up gurney, it's on the back, so it does extend out, it's all locked in and everything. You know, thankfully, we haven't had to use that, but they have transported people out on that, in that side-by-side, just but in the seating capacity, so.
That's not true.
What's not true?
We transported out on the side-by-side, the guy who broke his ankle, several years back on the back to meet the ambulance with the side-by-side. So we actually did use the gurney for that, so.
There you go.
You
know more than I do, so.
We had that ability to do that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, we
because
did.
that's kind of the purpose of what we're doing here.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for all of you guys, you know, similar to the jail walkthrough that you're gonna do later today, maybe do a walkthrough of their search and rescue building. They've really done some phenomenal things, on their own, and, you know, some kind of ingenuity that they've, all come up with. Pretty good variety of volunteers you have there that have a lot of, expertise in different things, so, you know, maybe we could set that up and you could see all this stuff, so when we do come forward, you see what they've all done.
You bet. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for passing that, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for your time and service. So that's our agenda items for today. Let's see here, we have minutes from December 2nd, 2019.
I'll move that we approve those as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made, second to approve minutes from December 2nd, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. I have a receipt of payment of rent or lease payment from Doc Campbell for the Family Medical Clinic building. Payroll claims in the amount of $174,727.06.
I'll move that we pay payroll claims in the amount of $174,727.06.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pay claims with payroll amount stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Have several Christmas cards here. WWC Engineering, Black Mountain, Action Print, DEQ letter. Public notice for a general permit for petroleum cleanup statewide. Another letter from DEQ for a public notice for Montana Rail Link wastewater treatment plan Livingston.
I think there's another one on the back side of that.
Is there another?
No, same one.
Cobblestone Government Sourcing, Rural Montana Magazine, State of the State from Secretary of the State, and a calendar from TD&H. That's all the mail. Anything else before the commission?
We do have this letter that I gave you guys a copy this morning, and it is from the Big Elk Divide there you go, Restoration Committee.
This is the letter that concerns I'm assuming it refers to the roads in the Elkhorns that Corey is going to have a public meeting on it. We're trying to get that scheduled with the Forest Service for when they want to have that. We have a letter, do we have a copy of that we can give to Ann?
A copy of that letter?
Yes.
Yeah, I can give her mine, and then just get a copy of it later.
I got a question on that.
Yes, sir.
How would you let the public know about that meeting?
I believe it'll probably be advertised through Facebook, or not through Facebook, but the county website, and probably in the paper also. I would imagine there would probably be something in the Independent Record also. I don't know how he's going to, how it's gonna be addressed.
I would request, I think this is a really big deal, is what I'm hearing from a lot of folks. I would request, since we did have a presentation on this already, it's kind of out there, that this letter be read into the record so that everybody is aware of what it says.
Okay, do you want to read that?
Sure. This is from the Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee, dear Broadwater Commissioners. The Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee is asking that you take the time necessary to complete a thorough vetting of the issues surrounding the issue of whether several roads are county or Forest Service. We ask that you listen to various people who are also doing local research, searching of records and talking with older residents that have personal knowledge and may in fact have some additional records that will help shed some further facts on this issue. Your efforts and decisions on the road in question has potential impacts well beyond just a road jurisdiction, and we ask that you be very certain, take the time to ensure that all records are found and analyzed and questions answered before you make this decision. We believe there may be additional records and facts that may be forthcoming, so please do not rush to a decision without allowing for the uncovering of potential additional records. Here are some questions we have as a group. If a road is declared a county road and it is later removed by mining activity and not rebuilt, does that road still exist? If a road is declared a county road and it is later relocated due to flooding and no longer used, is it still a county road? If a declared county road is relocated off the declared route and rebuilt by a non-county party, is it still a county road? If a declared county road is relocated and constructed with Forest Service BLM money, and all ROW is required and titled to the Forest Service BLM, can it still be a county road? Does RS 2477 apply, and is there a prescribed right to use? The Bedrock thanks you for your consideration. We understand this issue is complicated, and all records are necessary, all found and available to you, so we are simply asking you to take the necessary time to ensure all potential facts lead and complicated questions answered before you make a move to take jurisdiction of several roads. Thank you for your consideration. Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee Co-Chair Al Christofferson and Steve Marks. And I think it's important, give that back to you, to mention that the committee did actually have a unanimous vote on asking us to make sure that we go through a process and vet all the information. Apparently, Ranger Mike Welker just found a file with more information just last week. This is so old that there's probably going to be a number of files at the bottom of the pile that people will be finding. The people who sit on this collaborative include ranchers who represent grazing rights, Forest Service, FWP, other governmental agencies, local government, Steve Marks of Marks Lumber. We have a representative of snowmobilers and recreationists on public land. Kerry White, previous legislator, is there. I'm not sure of his capacity, but he has been verbally advocating for the miners. So there's a vast number of different groups coming in, and it was a unanimous vote asking us to please take our time and do this right.
Sure.
So I thought that was interesting.
So we're still kind of waiting on the Forest Service, right, to give us,
As far, yes.
to go ahead for this next public meeting. Is that correct? Okay.
And was Corey or the Forest Service going to send letters to those private property owners? Isn't there some pieces of the land that this road runs through that are private property?
I don't know about that.
Was Mike going to give us a list that we could contact them?
Yeah, regardless of who sends out a letter, when or why, we should be engaged with that. Nobody should be doing any of that without letting us know. So, I'm not sure what their plans are, what their timing is. I do know there has been, a request that we rush, and I just really appreciate the Bedrock, Collaborative for stepping up and saying, do it right. Doesn't have to be done fast. The other thing is we should be able to take a ride with Mike on those roads to see them for ourselves.
Next year, right?
Mr. Chairman, I got a question to ask. Tom?
Yes,
The roads are closed.
I'm with I'm a member of the Bedrock Committee, and I'm with the Elkhorn Working Group also. And at our last Elkhorn Working Group meeting, Darrell Baum and I were assigned to find out what the commissioners' intentions are with this. If they are declared county roads, will you still respect Forest Service's wishes and intentions to close those roads for elk security in the wintertime, things like that, and to research some on the history of the roads and find out about what's going on here. I'll want to report back to the Elkhorn Working Group in February. Our meeting is on February 6th in Boulder. I intend to write a letter to the commissioners with my thoughts on the history on these roads and what we do find out. I was down to see Mike Welker last Tuesday morning, and he had just found a file on the Crow Creek Road from when it was built. Some of these roads are in completely different places than they were when they were declared county roads back in 1921. And I need to find out about what happened in 1964 when there was a review of the county roads. So there's lots of information available. I don't want to get into a whole lot of history here, but that's my intention.
So how's that information going to be shared, Tom?
Shared with our committees and with the commission here and with the Forest Service, all interested parties. When I write a letter, I'll send it to everybody. I know that there's legal situations, and Corey Swanson has investigated that, but it isn't. It seems cut and dried, but there's things that have changed over the last 100 years. And we need to consider all of that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, Al?
If I remember right, during the travel planning process, there were just about every county in the state of Montana that it affected. There's a lot of these issues because during that process, and Broadwater County was an example, our county attorney at that time, John Flynn, the different issues of these different roads, his comment was, we don't have enough money to go through the process because it was such a total encompassing on the travel planning process that it just covered everything quickly, that didn't have the money nor time. And so I think what Tom was just saying, there's some merit because in like Broadwater County, we are a prime example, and I think you'll see that there's other roads, Mara County, Jefferson County, that are gonna pop up as all this research happens because it wasn't done during the travel planning process because nobody either had or wanted to spend the money, time, and effort. And because there was such a force that was driving the travel planning process that a lot of your counties, well, all the states in the West, just they backed up to find a safe spot that they felt that they could hold. And so I think this is going to be a good process. I think it's going to be actually a good process for the citizens, the taxpayers, to find out that there's a lot of access out here that they really do have. So, thumbs up.
Yes, Tim?
If these people all are now willing to spend the time, money, and effort, that should have been done then, instead of, ramrodding the travel planning process through.
Tim?
Yes, sir. Tim Ravendall, Readout News. I was in Ravalli County this last week covering the commission there that has a very similar issue before them. County road established way back, going in, and one of the statutes being used is you can't close a county road because it accesses public land, and then that dispute is going into adverse situations. The county has already gone to the Montana Supreme Court on their particular case, and the landowners, again, working to try to make sure that their property rights and individual rights are not infringed on a demand to remove gate on their private property, is really, again, it comes into play, and I just want to give you folks a heads up. I'm glad you got this up on, not necessarily on the agenda, but talking about it today, because I was at that meeting and I went ahead and recommended the Ravalli County Commissioners and their county attorney contact with you guys, because we have a long history of what's been going on with them roads. I personally, with years and years with Multiple Use Association, have stood at the helm, if you will, looking at these issues. It was mentioned about White's Gulch, and we got Indian Creek that has been a long time on the discussion table. So I just wanted to let you guys know that Ravalli County is now moving forward to look for an Attorney General opinion and to try and get more clarity on what is really right as well as what's law. And so if you guys get a call from county commissioners in Ravalli County, you can either shoot me or thank me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anything else to be brought before the commission?
I guess maybe just some things for future agendas. We're still kind of, I know Laura, you did the resolution for the Raidersburg folks. Is that?
No.
No?
I took the resolution that you sent me and I edited out the
Okay.
stuff that was incorrect.
All right, so we still need to have Corey look that over then, is that?
It went to him a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I kind of thought that it did.
Yeah, I
We-
CC'd you guys.
Yeah, And we haven't
Yeah.
heard back yet, so we're kind of waiting on that.
Right, it's on the agenda next Monday.
Okay, all right. And then, did you guys receive this email from Doug Ellis on Greenmont?
Yes.
Yes.
So we probably want to talk about that in our next agenda as well, huh?
He
Yeah.
was in this morning, yeah, we need to put it on the agenda. Greenmont doesn't need to take time
Right.
out of their business to
Right.
come for that, it's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
But Doug can just give us an overview.
Okay. All right.
But it has to be on the agenda for us to make a decision.
Right. And then I did go talk with Cora this morning, where we're at with the first right of refusal agreement. He didn't have a chance to review it, so hopefully
Okay.
today he'll get that to us, we can get that taken care of. All right?
And that looks like it was worded the way he wanted it.
Well, the whole document changed, instead of them just changing the wording, they changed the whole document. So, I think
Oh, okay.
it's best to have him look at the document and make sure it's right. I haven't seen anything wrong with it, but I'd like to have his approval, so hopefully today.
Which project is that on, Commissioner? I'm sorry for.
That is for the purchase of the Opportunity Bank building.
Thank you.
They wanted a first right of refusal on that building, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anything else?
A couple of things. Do you guys want to, what we can do with these letters is make copies, scan them to each other, and put this on the agenda for whatever direction we want to go
That's
next.
the support letter, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda for next.
Okay? So we'll do that. And then, Daryl, you had sent out an email about a new desk system
Mhm, yeah.
for the commission. One of the things that we talked about in our working meeting across the street was having a high-top table. And this one I checked at the inches, it's actually 2 inches lower than our desk in our office.
Right.
I clunk my knees all the time, so I'm gonna request that we have a higher desk.
So, I kind of wanted to see where we're at here. So this is, I think this is 38 inches, or 32 inches.
Okay, we're talking 28, that's 4
Yeah.
inches shorter,
Wait, no, but I'm saying if this is 32,
right?
if you want to go with this type of, with this height,
No.
do you want to go with,
What we talked about was 42 inches in that working meeting, and it's actually what we agreed to in
42?
that working
Right
meeting.
here?
I also brought one of those. Yeah, I think 42 is standard height, so we might even need to go higher than that. Not high,
Are you
listen,
talking are we
Daryl,
talking about desk height? I'm
would you
confused.
listen?
I'm confused still.
I know, I'm trying to explain it to you.
Okay.
We already talked about this, so this is not new. When you have a table for a meeting, if you look at Science of People
Mhm.
online, it will tell you that you should not be sitting at a table this height, you should be sitting in an elevated table, a high top.
So what
Table.
we're
The-
talking about is a platform with a table on top of it. So we're talking
I-
a platform with a 32-inch table, with this height of table, with a platform underneath it.
That is
So
option
we'll-
one. Option two is just have a higher table.
Well, we go to option 2, then we're gonna have to get higher chairs.
We can
because
do
if we're
that.
sitting
These
at
are
42,
old.
we're sitting up
They
here.
don't adjust very well and they squeak. So that's also a question for this office. Are these gonna stay here? So those are some questions that we need to look at and probably a cost column for each. But the science of people, there's 3 reasons for this, but one is when we are talking to the public and we're having them stand at a podium, we should be eye to eye. Especially with the problems we've had with lack of civility, we shouldn't have people shouting down to us. It should be more of an eye to eye. So that's number one. Number two, there was a commissioner a couple years ago that I spoke with, he's no longer, he's retired now, but I spoke with him recently and he said the worst thing that his commission had was a short table like this for their commission meetings. He had gone through back surgery, so he was unable to sit for a long amount of times in meetings. And when they ended up having to have their meetings and he couldn't sit down, he was standing, it was painful for him to be able to write anything down. He felt like he was outside of the commission because he was standing, everybody else was sitting. So his suggestion was also, if you have a higher table with either higher chairs or the ability to stand from time to time, you have an 8-hour meeting, it's nice to be able to stand rather than remain seated. So that would be the other reason for the higher table. And yeah, we could do either a platform and a short table, desk height table, or we can do a taller table with higher chairs. This table, these plans are for 28 inches, and I think that's regardless too low, because like you just measured,
Yeah.
it's 4 inches shorter than this, and it's 2 inches shorter than our desk tables. I also don't think we need locking drawers. That was added to this table when we didn't have offices here, and I don't think we need the shelves. And we're talking about, when you look at the measurements, we're talking about 42 plus 9, so 51 inches per person this way. That's a lot of real estate. 51. Each person has this much space. That's far more than we need when we have offices here. So I would suggest that if you want to still go with them for a custom built, that's fine. By me, I would want to see the price, but I think we need to agree on some of the basics of the design. So that's all I wanted to talk about.
I remember was talking about the platform, and the reason for the platform was just so that they could run all the cabling underneath it. Made it a lot easier for
Yeah,
Mike to do that. I mean,
I think the platform would be where, and then I'm pretty comfortable with this height. I mean, it's 32.
That's fine.
Put that on top of the platform, but I do think that, like you said, that 51 inches, that seems to me to be pretty excessive. I think if you cut that back to 42, you'd be plenty wide.
okay.
What do we got, what do we have right here?
Here's 42, so that is 32 from this angled piece to this one right here. Yours would be the same. So I think that's plenty.
Yeah, I think that would be plenty of
But
room.
it's 32?
4 of them to 32
32?
wide. That gives 3 commissioners and Ann enough room to do everything that they'd have to do.
And if we did do the platform and somebody ended up with something like a back injury or they couldn't sit, we could move the whole thing back and everyone could stand. That way you have 3 commissioners that look like a team. But when you have one that's kind of sitting out there, not able to essentially do their job, it becomes an issue. So I think it's at least worth talking about. But yeah, platform's fine with me either way.
Does this have the front end closed?
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yes.
Yeah, you see it right there. I did look at some high office tables online and they were $9.99. And that would, that could be an option to look at.
Anything else? Yes, Tim?
Just a real quick comment here, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I understand you're moving forward on a working meeting discussion on equipping the new annex with facilities. I really have to be honest, as a citizen of Broadwater County, and civility has been brought up I don't know how many times. And certainly there has been some frustrations across the board with people on both sides of the table. But please remember one thing. You are not above the citizens. That's who you work for. Thank you.
Yes, Tom?
Considering your table, you're discussing how much space for each person. consider that at some time there might be a large person being commissioner. And I see that you have lots of papers there and a cup of coffee. You want to measure your elbow room and figure out how much room it really takes. And sometimes you don't get along very good. You might want a little bit more space. So arm's length might be good. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, sir.
We as taxpayers have been told that, sometimes we gotta sacrifice because of, dumb things and this and that. Why does it just go one way? Save your money. Just my thought.
So you would be suggesting the high top online for
No, I'd say
$9.99
that's
versus
worked for years.
21? Oh, this, and maybe that's something to talk about. I had thought we would talk about leaving this here in this room, and we're talking about having our meetings across the street. So that's why we're talking about a second table, is because we simply don't have one. So,
You can also go to the warehouse there in Helena, where they have a lot of that stuff, for $5 to $10.
you're 100% right. In fact, the commission office was actually entirely furnished from state surplus.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't see why spending $1,000 instead of 10.
yeah,
Think smarter, not harder.
yeah. In fact, to that idea, we could even just buy a couple of podiums, and that could work. Put them side by side. That was $25. So there's a lot of options we could look at to accommodate what we need. Again, if you guys want a platform, and Mike has said that'd be easier for the wiring, that's fine. He can build it, and that keeps the price down.
You know, we need to think about the future though too. It's gonna serve
That's where I'm coming
many,
from.
many commissions down the road from us.
Right.
And we want something that's gonna be durable, that's gonna last, so they don't have to do it again.
Yeah. And something that serves the commission and the county long-term, not just the wood, but also the structure, the perception of.
Yes, sir.
You can also talk to them too, because I know that they have woodworking projects and really nice stuff that comes out of the prison.
That's who
A heck of a lot cheaper.
That's who we're working with, yeah. We're working with correctional. Yeah.
And a lot of the state surplus is correctional furniture that's used and in great shape. So, yeah, your ideas are brilliant.
Did you record that?
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen to this room?
It'll still be a meeting room.
Okay.
We'll find out we don't have enough places to meet anymore.
Okay.
So we'll just have some more options.
So we want to make a decision on that, or we want to look at this some more?
Well, I'll send this information in and they can design a new setup for us and get a cost on it, and we'll talk about it again.
And then get a cost on that plus one podium?
Yeah, they're supposed to give us a cost on a podium.
And even with that, I would still like to make sure we look at state surplus for a podium. $25 for one that's already built is a good way to go.
Anything else?
Yeah, a couple of things. The communications committee met, and so I have a couple of questions for you, but I also sent along Bill Jiraki's attachment. Did you guys print that by chance?
I did read that, yeah.
Yes.
Do you guys want to have Nicole add that to our boards list to start getting that done?
Sure, you bet.
Yeah.
I think we decided we wanted to go forward with that.
Yeah, we may not have a white paper to follow from Bill, but we do have in the article that he sent us, and what we're talking about is forming a strategic budget team of citizens to help with budget process. Not necessarily building the project, building the budget, because we have to do that by law, but helping with policy and determining and educating them as to where the money goes, where it comes from, how much there is, how much there isn't, and also soliciting their input. So, Engage Roseville, that was in the article, and they actually went through this process and have a bunch of the questions and the answers and the process online. So we could, instead of having that white paper from Bill, we could use that to kind of help us figure out how to move forward. And knowing that this is new, there's probably gonna be some changing pains, fits and starts, but I think if we work together, we can deal with that and have something of good quality.
Sure.
So, the state of the county. There's a number of questions that came up from the committee, and I brought my folder of our newsletters from the past. Let you guys look at these if you want. In 2000, and this was brought up in our committee, which was good, in 2017, I do want these back, but you guys are welcome to look at them. In 2017, we had an issue where we just were not able to get accurate information to the public as a whole. So we started the newsletter that you see there, and the idea was to address a county issue, inform the public, and also pick one department at a time to inform the public as to who works in that department, who the department head is, and what they do for the citizens. So that was the idea in the latest newsletter that was designed and sent out to the public, was to introduce, it's a new day, Happy New Year, it's a new team. So we talked a couple weeks ago about a news postcard, which would be less expensive than the newsletter, which is less than $1,200 for the newsletter. But to do a postcard, save a little bit of money, and just do one subject, and that would be the state of the county, to let the citizens know what the financial status is of the county. We can do a number of graphs, boxes with information, bullet points, rather than just filling it all with verbiage, which we know most people don't read. And that's not a statement against anyone, it is just a scientific fact. When you look at the research that's been done on postcard mailers, most people don't sit down and read them. So, questions came up. There's some other things that we could address if you guys wanted to look at a newsletter, or if you wanted to stick with the postcard. Postcard's one subject, state of the county, as we've already agreed to and voted on. Corey would like to have a chance to showcase his department. He's the only one who's reached out. If we went with a 4-page newsletter, what we should do is a drawing type process to give everybody an equal chance to have their department showcased. But we could do that if you want. The other subjects that we could touch on, if you guys wanted, is the census is coming up, big deal. This budgeting team is one. An update on solid waste and the road plan. That seems to be a subject at almost every public meeting. WIC. WIC is a partnership between Lewis and Clark Public Health and Broadwater Health Center, and that has freed up public health to do more senior-centric services. Why is the front door closed? Also quite an emotional issue. It's an opportunity to tell people why. Will there be a public safety mill levy? If so, this is an opportunity to talk about it. And that's it. And then I have a couple more questions, but what else is what I have here? So you guys want to stick with the postcard as we talked and just the state of the county, or do you guys want to do a 4-page mailer address some of those other issues, and go back to a periodic mailing that tells people who their departments are and what they're doing. And if you want, we can talk about this next week, but I wanted to bring it up to make sure you guys are in the loop and in the know.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
If it's going to be a 4-page newsletter, there's 3.5 pages available. You need half a page for the mailing, Andrew.
Thank you, Ann. And what we did last time is that half a page was the place to share what the county website is and, you know, that kind of stuff. And you can kind of see it there. And then as you're thinking, there's also, I'm going to send this to you via email, but what are the good things that we've done? There's quite a list, but I'll want some input so we don't forget anything. New home for extension, 4-H and fair, new home for the ambulance, the TED got done. The hospital was purchased by Billings Clinic, or is at the final stages of that. We have a new health clinic coming in. Fairgrounds master plan, the Silos Recreation Area master plan. Toston Bridge is getting rebuilt after some failures were discovered. Brownfields is taking care of the ambulance building. So I'll send you the list and let you guys share anything else that I forgot. So what do you think?
Well, I think that, like the Corps requested to have a section, I think that we should request our department heads to supply us with a section, like maybe every other month we split it to how often are we planning on putting this out?
Earlier this year, we had talked about quarterly. I had argued for every other month. We kind of landed on quarterly, and then it just became one of those things where it was easier not to do it, I think. And we didn't until now start talking about it again. And that's where we went to the postcard to kind of make it more palatable. So, yeah, every quarter would be a great idea, and I think if we put all the departments into a hat and pulled them out so that they had some time to write something, put some pictures together, and then it's fair and equitable, everybody's there and everybody has a chance to be showcased, but we need to commit to doing it so that we don't leave anybody behind.
I'd agree with that. I'd say probably every 2 months. Should be reasonable. Yes,
Where do you get those printed? Out of curiosity.
The last one we did is in the memo from this morning, and it's called Got Print. It's online, it's not local. The thing is there's kind of the nonprofits around town have kind of a firm policy that if you can save more than 20%, it's okay to go out of county. We can save substantially more than that by going to Got Print. They do so many, they do it cheap. But the quality is full color and good quality, so it doesn't make much sense not to. Plus, we don't have a local printer.
Well, I was gonna suggest printing center out of Great Falls might be an option. That's who we use. And you can give them your mailing list, and they'll do it all in-house. It's gone right there.
We'll look into that for sure.
It saved our business thousands upon thousands.
All right, yeah, absolutely. We'll look for anybody. Doesn't have to be, we're not committed to anybody, just whoever's least expensive.
What's the name of it again, Dan?
Printing center
Okay.
in Great Falls.
Mike, I
Yeah.
would also ask you all to at least give Dawn a copy cup a chance to bid on this. And then you'll find out if she is 20% less, more, or not.
Mm-hmm.
But she is the local printer, I think that would be wise.
Oh, good. Okay, I didn't know she had the capacity to do the full color, so, good, okay. Yeah, we'll look around and get as much input as we can.
How many departments are you looking at?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. I was just curious, if you're gonna do this once every 2 months, and you have 48 departments, you know? Just curious how many departments there are.
Yeah, weed, mosquito,
12 plus.
public works,
Yep.
extension.
Public health, museum, library, finance, treasury, elections.
If you did a newsletter and you gave 3 departments 1 page each, that would give you a half a page for miscellaneous. To get through 3 at a
Yeah.
time. Just a thought.
Yeah, and that would be something to think about. How much information is there we have to share? That would be number one. And then number 2 would be infill. So I would say you could probably do a minimum, and we'd want a word count so everybody has, again, equity. But I would say we could do a minimum of 2 per edition, sometimes 3, perhaps sometimes 1 if there's something really important to share. So should we put this on the agenda then for next week? Does that work? And I'll
Yeah.
email what we have. The other thing I wanted to share with you guys is this. It's just the handout we worked with in the committee. And what it is Lewis and Clark County on their website has a big graph of where the money goes and then a bunch of questions that people ask. We could actually take that information and personalize it to Broadwater County and change it to what's relevant for us. Not all the questions, where do I pay my taxes? Well, that was last month. How about where do my taxes go? Questions like that we could come up with for the state of the county, and then put more detail on the website. The jail tour today, I didn't know anything about it.
Well, that was just something that I'm looking to do with Brandon on my own.
But what I was gonna say is, as a commission, we used to do that every quarter, and I think it's something that we should get back to, because when you look at the statute, the commission is the one that owns the detention center. The sheriff, by agreement, is the one that manages the facility. So we should be doing that, and that used to go on the agenda, so that the public was aware.
What's our plans to meet with JSJ?
For what?
Plans to meet with JSJ on our concessionary contract?
She responded that she's happy to meet with us at any
At
time.
any time, okay.
So, you know, if you guys wanna, next week, we're gonna have a very long meeting with budget. So perhaps the Monday after, or right after the first of the year.
Yeah. And I did talk to the trust board. They would be willing to fund the improvements to the road and the parking lot and possibly mag chloride that if we, and then they would like to set up the tubes and take care of the money for the I don't know what we call it.
For the boat launch?
The mandatory voluntary boat launch fee.
How would that work? Would they be,
Well, I think what we kind of envisioned, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Debbie, is that they would fund that process, and then the money that came in for the boat launches would go back into an account that they would set up, and then once that reaches a certain point, then we could do another project with something from the, so that it's always getting paid in front instead of doing work and then getting paid for it later.
totally good with that. I just don't think the trust board doesn't have an accountability. And so I'm not sure that we should have them handling money. That should be a county employee or a concessionaire, somebody under contract. And if you want it to be an employee, that's fine with me. Or, and the account it can be a separated account where that money goes in somewhere, but it shouldn't be trust board, it should be county.
And then I talked to Debbie about setting up, Debbie Kelly about setting up a separate account with a fund and everything in the county,
Perfect.
in the county
Perfect.
system.
Okay.
And that, because it's a cash business, the thought was have somebody from the county or JSJ, have two people. Always pick up the money, count it, and then receive it to the county. So that was talked about. But yeah, everything else you said, Mike, was right on. I don't think they agreed to it completely, but they're open to
That was
it.
basically.
And it's on their agenda for January, as far as the road. Yep.
All right. Do we want to meet then with Sharon after that meeting in January, when we have this part of the plan is in place? Okay, so now we're gonna do this part of the
Yeah.
plan? Okay,
I think we would want to try to move that portion of that as quickly as we can, so that we can get somebody lined up to do that maintenance, say, before the 15th of April, I would assume,
yeah,
or whenever we can get materials and stuff
yeah.
for that. We're probably gonna have to get bids to do the repair and do the mag, if we're gonna do mag. I guess we have to discuss that with BOR or who's gonna complain if we put mag on the parking lot and then they back into the lake?
Right, that was a concern as well.
Good question. There was some argument at the legislature, last session, and there was argument that the mag chloride is harmful to water systems, and they were trying to get rid of it. But they brought in somebody from somewhere, DNRC maybe, one of those, and they actually made an argument and presented information that there is no adverse effects
So
to
we
water.
would-
That'd be the same with the lake, I don't know.
We would have to get some kind of a approval from BOR to mag chloride that parking lot.
We would, and they seemed very receptive to our plan. He didn't say anything about any chemical worries.
Okay.
So, yeah, well, one of us can put that to the dance and see what they
Okay.
say.
And the trust board meets again January 7th. I think that's right. Yeah, January 7th at noon.
January 7th
Yeah.
at noon here.
So we should probably have a letter maybe to the trust board to make it official with our request.
Okay.
Okay. So, the training, I have a question. This may take a few minutes. I wanted to give this to you guys. I don't know if you got a chance to hit this roundtable at the training. I had the bedrock on Tuesday of the training, and then Youth Justice Council all day on Wednesday, so that's why I didn't get to go other than that one on the budget. But I understand that a couple of sheriffs left the sheriff and Mako meeting to come out to the rest of the training. They said it was going so well, and we have bridged so many gaps in the relationship that they didn't feel they were needed there anymore. So did either of you make that particular part of
Yeah,
the
we were
training?
both.
Yeah, it was a very good meeting.
Oh, good. Anything to share?
They want to be called offices and not departments.
Yeah.
Okay, we've heard that a time or two.
Because the one guy said that he never went to the department head meeting because he was never invited because he's not a department head, he's an office.
He's a elected official.
And that was, seemed to be a pretty big point. It's just, I mean, it seems kind of trivial, but that's what they look at more, you know, they're not a department, they're actually an office. And I think a lot of them had the same gaps that we've got, you know, between the commissioners and the sheriffs, because there's not, and one thing, like we told them that we took the commissioners completely out of the deputy's appeal to be fired or something. I said, that's the best thing that you can do, because we don't want it, and then they don't want, none of the commissioners in that meeting wanted that burden, and none of the sheriffs wanted the commissioners to have that right. So I think that's the best way to handle it. So that's kind of what they all said too.
Excellent.
So that was, and of course, budget, I don't know what you do with budget.
No, there's conventional wisdom out there by both the subcommittee and the WIC that are working on it that state that they think there's been a conscious effort to break local government's budgets because it's the only way you're going to get legislators and perhaps citizens to vote for a big change to tax. And that's what we need to do, is look at taxes, the way it's working isn't working. Our property taxpayers their property taxes are going up and up and up. It's not providing anything more for us to produce, or to provide services, because we can only grow by 0.5% the rate of inflation. Well, that doesn't keep up with basic costs. And then the state takes their portion, but they mostly run on income tax. So they're pushing growth to us. What did Eric say? The only way you're gonna get more taxes is by growth. Growth provides more taxes to the state, but we're the bad guys pushing growth, because it's the only way we can get enough to just continue with services and inflation. So, yeah, Lou Jones is the one, you guys saw his presentation at the last conference. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but that is kind of the thoughts out there, and I think there's something to that.
And I think they all agreed that the process you're talking about, that they're having to provide the service before we receive any revenue to pay for it.
Yeah, there's a 2-year lag. Minimum. Any other thoughts on that to share? How about HR? How about HR?
Our last HR meeting?
No, the training at lunch.
Yeah.
That started boiling up a week before that training.
Yeah.
I heard it was pretty ruckus.
Well, the thing is, it's just like we're talking about closed door meetings. If you have a closed door meeting and you can get sued either way you go. So if you have a closed door meeting that's not legally a closed door meeting, but you still you're worried about protecting that person's right, you're better off to have it as a closed door, because then you can release minutes. But if you have it as an open meeting and you violate that person's constitutional rights and their right to privacy, then you're opening yourself to lawsuit, and there's no way to take it back. And it was the same thing about who you include in the meeting. Those people have to understand that once anything that happens in that meeting doesn't go anywhere unless a judge tells you to open that paperwork. But they were saying that you were supposed to have the closed door meeting and then closed door meeting and then have the vote. I go, well, how can you do that? You can't, because as soon as you open that back up and have a vote, there's discussion on that vote, so you violated that person's right to privacy. And with 3 different lawyers in there, you got 3 different points of view. So really, the best thing to do is to overprotect the person's rights, and then if somebody wants to take that to court, then what they said was, and what they were doing is they were saying you need to let it go to the court, let the court decide, because now the court's getting fed up with it, they don't want to put up with it, so they're going to make a decision. But the thing is that the court's the only one that can't get sued. Everybody else can get sued. So that's where you're going to end up at. So, I don't know, I think you just keep them closed.
So like you said in closed door meeting about the minutes, so in a closed door meeting, are there minutes taken even though they may not be public? Are there supposed to be minutes taken?
There are minutes taken, and then they're sealed and given to the county attorney, and he puts them in a file somewhere.
Right.
The only way you can open them with it is on a judge's order.
Thank you.
100% of our closed doors have minutes that have been taken, and will continue to.
I'm not sure with the trust board there were minutes taken.
There were.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Because there was discussion about if somebody had taken notes.
There are minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was glad about that. I know there's been disagreement in how to, and of course we've dealt with this with Michelle Edmonds, our HR contractor, how you deal with certain things and navigate the whole rights to privacy versus open meeting laws. And you're right, when you violate somebody's right to privacy, what's the going rate? $500,000. When you violate an open meeting law because you protected them and the right to privacy, to remedy open meeting law, you reverse your decision on whatever you voted on. So, yeah, when you look at that part of it too, nothing is black and white, I guess, is kind of the crux of what they were trying to communicate and what we've been trying to navigate here is nothing's black and white. You have to weigh what you're dealing with and what's going to actually serve the county the best. There are sometimes you can't be perfect.
No.
Yeah, I heard about that and I was really, really encouraged that they had that debate in front of everybody. You look like you have a thought.
No, I mean, I was just bringing back the memory, the discussion we had, it was a great discussion. And like Mike said, 3 different attorneys there and they all had a different opinion, so it didn't really help us out a lot.
And then it did.
Well, it did in a way, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. But,
John Flynn used to say, if you've got 4 attorneys in a room, you'll have 5 different opinions.
yeah.
And I think he was right.
But overall, it was a very worthwhile training for me. I mean, I enjoyed it, learned a lot. And, so
You always learn more, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mike and Guinea did a great job on the budget, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk about some of that too. I asked Debbie if she'd bring the PowerPoint so that we can re-review it when we go over the budget next week. And you guys have the tax levy requirements report by departments?
Yeah.
It's something we should also talk about.
Yes, Tim?
Just a real quick question on the subject of Mako training. Is that information what you guys actually go through on behalf of the citizens? Is that, like the document you're talking about now, is that information available? And if so, where does that be found at for the public?
No, do they put some of those trainings on the Mako website?
I think some of
I think they do.
those, some of those handbooks and stuff that they give out, they put on the Mako website. If you go to the Mako newly elected officials training, then I think that they have most of that stuff that they present to us, they put on the website. You can just download it there.
Okay. Well, thanks, I'll take a look.
Anything else? If not, we will adjourn at 11:39.
Hey Mike, I have a quick question.
Yes, Debbie.
Y'all have talked about another board training like you did last winter for the community boards.
Yeah.
I just wondered if any thought has been given to that or dates
I think we agreed that we want to do it again.
in the first quarter.
You probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was great, and trust board would certainly like to.
Yeah. And actually, one of the roundtables that we went to was on county boards, put on by Dan, what's Dan's last name?
Clark.
Clark, from MSU Government Center. It was very good, and so we got some ideas from there.
Okay. I know the trust board just wants to get it on.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.